stop the record 1 minute.
Alright.
I believe everything's still synced up how it needs to be. Recording folder. Yes. So, cool. So it's sitting on the main desktop. Now I gotta get a feed from here, and we'll be good to go.
Alright. Alright folks, we're going to be starting soon, just working through the last little bit of technical details here at Friday Night Magic, here at Blockhouse Games in Mansfield, Texas. It'd be kind of cool if Mansfield was in Arlington, but it's not. It looks a bit straighter.
Getting there. You doing alright? Run the print first.
Alright.
These bags are fun.
It's getting some reconnecting things.
Yeah, we'll have the reconnecting problem quite often.
Oh, really?
Until we get hardline. So,
Okay.
leave it as it is, and they'll
Okay.
fix itself.
Alright.
I need to get a second monitor in here so that we can do the overlay properly and so that we have a better view of what's actually going on.
I got some stuff at my place if there's anything in particular. Like, I've got a spare monitor that I can bring.
That'd be perfect.
Okay. And then I've been looking at a couple things as far as like trying to keep track of life totals, but until we get the resolution a little bit better, it may be hard to keep track of life totals.
Chris is actually going to get an overlay. He's almost got it built.
Like an actual professional overlay. Okay, that's cool.
I know how to jerry-rig it to where anybody, even Cohen, can make it work correctly. So that's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, you're just setting the scene right here
The scene is
with this stuff.
Yeah. So that's going to be over the top of it, and then the actual overlay is going to be brought up in Photoshop, so you can edit the numbers freely.
Okay. Oh, and that'll be on the other screen so that you can dink. Okay. Okay, good. So you don't have to keep fucking... Okay, because that's what I was practicing at home, and I was like, man, this is a pain in the butt.
Yep.
Let me find out what these two guys are playing real quick.
Anything I can do to help you?
Cool. We have mono red on the left against mono blue on the right. Should be very interesting. Especially since how everything used to be all multicolored.
Slows print out? No, they didn't.
I didn't hear anything printing out over here.
Oh, cool. Hold on.
Is it not turned on?
No, it's,
Like, it didn't think it had paper or something.
yeah, I thought it was out of paper.
Nice.
So you can see we're totally professionals here tonight.
Yeah, right? Thank God we have technology.
Yes, we have the technology. We will be getting more.
Yeah, right?
Alright. It'll be real interesting what kind of mono blue deck this kid is playing tonight.
Is it chain playing mono blue?
Yeah.
I guarantee you it's not going to be enjoyable.
No.
Is it going to be
Shane's
permission, or is it going to be...
Shane's not very
He's not a good deck builder.
good. He's not very good.
Hi, Izzy.
Fair enough.
Wow,
You
y'all
feel okay?
y'all are so supportive of this player on live stream.
Like, I was for a while. I'm going to use this box to put results in.
You go right ahead. Or do you want the one?
I'll just put it in this. That's easier for this.
Alright.
Actually, come on. Yeah,
Looks like they're drawn up. So I guess if it's no permission, he's more like of an aggro blue?
There are two different versions that he could be playing. The actual devotionless or the
Either
aggro.
way, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay.
So the printer's busted and thinks that we don't have paper.
Well, it should be a very interesting match.
There we go. There we go.
See if Red got enough in Dragons of Takir.
It really did. It got a couple more burn pieces, and it got dragon fodder.
I like
with
that
the-
dasher.
It's gonna be so cute.
Oh, and he leads off with a 1-drop. He has momentum.
So the machine doesn't realize it has papers at one when you put on results.
It's really hard to see the
Try again.
numbers on these.
Try again? Alright.
Yep.
So he's playing the aggro variant of mono blue.
Okay.
Which means anything that targets any of his stuff is just going to kill it.
Which red should have a lot of.
Yeah.
Or at least a couple of decent burn removal spells.
No, that's what I get.
Yeah. Alright. Yeah, pardon the streaming issue, folks. As we get things more figured out, we're going to get this all hardline connected and a lot better next weekend.
Printer is terrible.
That is the best printer ever.
That printer is absolutely dead.
Wow, he is just running the field against blue.
Here's your result slip. Awesome. Are we not going to have result slips?
We try it again?
Yeah.
I definitely think that this is in the red player's favor going into this. Looks like there's a lot of thinking.
Only a comma was Johnson handle really. They gave her like.
I bet he wishes he had a third land. But he'll go with some tokens. Yeah, he's just going to overrun the field.
3 feet from you.
I think really him getting the turn 1 start gave him a huge momentum in this match.
It is. So,
Yeah, it's both.
Oh. Okay.
We are dos.
Frostwalker, a 4/1, you target it, it sacrifices it.
Yeah, more goblin tokens. I don't know. I think the red player is going to run with this.
Yep. 2 lands just functions better in the red deck than it does with the mono blue.
Yeah.
Plus, to get all the parts you need, are 4.
Yeah. Plus, I think red's got better removal for this type of matchup than blue does necessarily. Blue doesn't really pack much. Like they may have that one. Do they still have that one that kills a red or green creature? 2 blue, or is that cycled out of the
It just
format?
taps it out.
It just taps.
It's
It
an
doesn't
enchantment.
kill it.
Oh, oops.
But is he just mono blue?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just mono blue aggro versus mono
Well,
red
that's
aggro.
unfortunate because he should have red in his deck for things like Arc Lightning. And
I'm still thinking Circle of Flame.
Circle of Flame is pretty good. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Not amazing against this board, but at least threatens.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's playing that new elemental
Yeah,
in
it's
his
right
deck. Is that him? The one that? Okay.
Short Crasher?
Yeah, I gotta get used to all these pictures. Especially since you can't read the cards. Yeah, but he's just gonna run with this. He'd probably want a third land, but
No, he's just gonna
4
overwhelm
Swift
him.
Spear, or 3 Swift Spears is good.
Yeah, but here's the thing: he's got 1 red left up, and I believe he might have a expendables in his hand to throw one of his tokens at him.
is that the one where you sack a creature with a lightning bolt?
So,
Yeah.
here's a mistake.
Okay.
Zero has like 3 Searing Blood in his hand.
But
Oh, he can't cast Searing Blood.
No, he can't. Because it dies immediately.
Yep.
Wow.
And he's also missing a land drop for said Searing Blood as well. Because he can Searing Blood the Shore Crasher if Mr. Lindemann decides to take some toughness down on it and try to attack with it. Which would probably be the worst decision ever.
In this board state, he needs to just kind of wall up.
I mean, when you've got aggro versus aggro, though, like...
That's the
That-
problem. Is he mono blue or is he trying
Yeah,
to...
he's mono blue. He's
So
mono
his
blue.
one out to this right now, if he can stave off for 2 turns, is Profaner. Because he can use the Profaner to bounce the entire mono red player's board back to their hand. If he can start killing off these Swift Spears. Is he just taking all that damage?
I think so.
Sweet
I don't think
Jesus.
he's... Excuse me, I don't think he's blocked once.
That Shore Crasher on the mill needs to hop in front of something, because this Zergo Bell Smasher, well, your most threatening things are your Swift Spears. You can't take all that damage. I don't know what's in Mr. Lindemann's hand. Okay.
Yeah. He's going to have to block there and has a safe block there. Yeah, because he's tapped out, so he can't do any tricks with the elemental.
Yeah. Like I said, the only thing here that blows him out is Combust, but I do not believe that Mr. Crow has it.
No, the elementals are gonna die.
Well, yeah, the Frostwalker's going to die anyway. I think this is a good trade for him because...
You think that if he's, you think he should sack one of his goblin tokens and pink one of these?
That would probably be the best,
Just
but
to
even
keep
then...
one of these alive?
Well, okay, so he Titan Strengths his unblocked.
Okay.
I'm assuming to find a land.
Also, buffs the others to where...
He keeps the Scry on top. It buffs the others, but they still die to Frostwalkers.
True.
So...
It's still a crappy printer.
Yeah. Mr. Linneman takes 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, and he's been taking a bunch to the face, so he's probably in single digits easily.
He has to be by this point.
Yeah.
Now, I believe he drew an Aqueous form for the turn, which is probably the worst thing ever. Mere Mockery.
That is terrible.
Interesting target.
That is terrible. Right here.
I wonder why he would be packing that in this deck.
I think he's trying to get some kind of value out of his Master Waves, but I've been a big proponent of people not putting it on their own Master Waves and putting it on creatures their opponents control that are a little bit bigger of a deal in order to make them 2-for-1 themselves. So,
Okay.
Mr. Crow draws, land for the turn that he scribed at the top, attacks. Oh, we're convoking Stoke the Flames.
Boom!
Yep, and
Yep,
that
that's
kills Mr.
game.
Linneman. Alright, so we go to game 2.
Yeah. I think as long as the red player gets a kind of start like that, I really don't know much what the blue player has in his deck that he could use to really counter that.
The problem is the mono blue player is trying to rush to Master Waves. Master Waves is his trump in this matchup. The unfortunate part of it is Master Waves comes down on turn 4, so the mono blue player needs to be playing creatures turns 1 through 3 consistently. But his only 1-drops in his deck so far are Hypnotic Spectre, which is a 1/1, which can still block. It's not terrible. His 2-drop is Frostwalker, which is unfortunate because Mr. Crow can just use a Lightning Strike or some other piece of removal that's inconsequential to get rid of it if it's in his way. Shore Crasher Elemental is really, really good here for the fact that it's got a 3-power butt, and he can pump it up or down if he happens to play it with some empty mana, just in case to dodge a removal spell. But
Do
unfortunately,
you really have a lot of empty mana in this deck, though? Because it kind of feels like you're kind of dumping your mana every turn in building up your board.
unfortunately, you do just for the fact that he's trying to run with Nykthos, and unfortunately for Nykthos decks, especially mono blue decks or devotion decks in general, they always are tapping out until they get their Nykthos running. And that's what the Shore Crasher's for. If he really wants to get a good start with this deck, he needs to get Shore Crasher on turn 3, but that means he also can't have the Nykthos in play before turn 3 if he wants to play Shore Crasher, since it's 3 blue mana.
Okay.
So he's wanting to somehow get some kind of 1-drops or 2-drops that may be able to block better, like a Mind Reaver would probably be a better blocker here, or an Omen Speaker is probably the better blocker here as well, instead of a Frostwalker. And then we go into our Shore Crasher, and hopefully on turn 4 we can have a Nykthos and start playing more cards out of our hand. Because while the mono red deck is really, really good at attacking, it does not like 1/3s in its way at all. Because now they're having to burn their Lightning Strikes and their Combusts on 1/3s instead of burning them into the player's face.
Or in the creatures with better value.
Exactly.
Just in general.
And I mean, Omen Speaker is not the best creature, but for mono blue it's a great blocker. You know, the Scry is inconsequential, it helps out, but they're really looking for 1/3s, 1/4s, something with a really large toughness in order to block these 2/2s, these 1/2s, these dash 1/1s.
Yeah, I really like some of the new dashers that came out of the new set. They're kind of brutal.
Yeah, a lot of the dashers are really, really good. I know Zergo Bellstriker, a lot of people kind of like it. I'm not the biggest fan of it because it is legendary. I understand the appeal of it. It's a 1-drop 2/2 that you can dash and get it in there for some quick damage, but I don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I know people don't like playing Fire Dream Crusader right now because red is so popular and you really just don't want to take 3 for playing a 1-drop, and I can understand that, but your 1-drops in red are kind of not the greatest variety, so I can understand why you have to have Zergo.
Yeah. Is there anything that you think the blue player could have cited in to help out this matchup?
Encase in Ice is probably his most powerful card to put in this matchup, but it just feels bad to put it on a 1-drop. It's not like you're encasing in Ice a Siege Rhino out of the Abzan deck, so you're not taking another 4 on top of 3.
Okay.
honestly, his best things to put in are going to be things like Omen Speaker, things with a large toughness, in order to kind of buy him some time to get to his Master Waves, which is going to help him stabilize the board, and then his Profaner, so he can start bouncing back the mono-red player's permanents and taking control of the board, because Profaner of the Dead in this matchup is super good. Being able to bounce all of his creatures by sacrificing just an elemental token or even just himself as a 3/3 is a big tempo swing in this deck, especially if he can come down the turn after a Master Waves. Because now, let's say you've got 3 or 4 blue pips from your Master Waves, now you've got 10 damage coming at the mono-red player who has to replay all of his threats. And while they do have haste, does he really want to attack into a board where he's got another 10 damage coming at him? And all he's got down are a couple Monastery Swift Spears or a non-dash Lightning Berserker.
That's actually a really good point. Let's see if he actually cited that in, because it looked like he did a little bit of manipulation. It looked like he put some stuff in.
Oh, he put about 10 or 12 cards in from what I saw, so we're definitely going to see a lot different deck this matchup.
Yeah.
I know people are liking to play mono blue, but I've always thought the mono blue deck needs to have another color with it, especially, when we had blue black Devotion or blue white Devotion was one of my favorites, because you had a Fara to draw your cards after you were playing these threats that, while they're not very threatening on their own, you had Nightveil Spectre, you had Cloudfin Raptor, and the Azorius Eagle that you sacrificed, the Azorius Curse Catcher guy.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Those threats were not very threatening on their own, but if you were to, say, have a Fara in play and go play this guy, draw a card on your turn, that was a real big help in that deck, because while it likes to have Biden out, I would rather have out a 6/5 that, while it may not be active all the time, at least I'm drawing cards pretty consistently. Mm-hmm. And I think he might have taken out the Bidens in this matchup, but it seems like something he can't do because he needs to be drawing cards. But to put in 10 or 12 cards, he had to change something out.
Yeah,
there's something
he definitely did.
There's something that's changed in the deck, some kind of angle that he's attacking from differently. But we'll find out whenever they finally get done shuffling.
Do you think black would be the best splash for blue, or do you think another color would be better to splash in a mono blue deck like this?
I mean, the black gives you access to things like Slumgar's Command, it gives you access to Murderous Cut, it gives you access to some of these black cards like Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize is real powerful, especially if you're in a Devotion deck, to really get rid of their thing that might hamper your Devotion and then just go straight in with, playing your Masters, your Shore Crashers, your Thassa's. Green probably isn't where you want to be with this deck. Sylvan Curated doesn't really help you out. I mean, yeah, it's a 0/3 blocker, but it's not what you're really looking for. It has no blue Devotion into it. Yeah, you can play your Master Waves a turn earlier, but for 1 blue pip, I'm just not sold on it. I think the red might be the best, just for the fact that you do have some of these Jexai spells that have red and blue in them, such as Winter Flame would be real good in this matchup. Or if you go for things like Keranos, which lets you draw cards and start bolting things out of your way. Plus you get the red removal, your Lightning Strikes, your Magma Jets, your Stoke the Flame. Stoke the Flame seems really good if you can have enough red mana up to cast it. The Convoke is a little hard for you since you have no real red creatures, but
and it doesn't exactly. It's not exactly light and red in its casting cost either.
Exactly. Mr. Linneman takes a mulligan. I guess he didn't like what he sees. It looks like Mr. Crow is going to keep. See a Stoke, Hammerhand, couple lands.
That looks like a decent hand.
I think he's got a lot going for him. I see a Dragon Fodder and a Monastery Swift Spear, so he's got a pretty aggressive opening. I foresee a Monastery Swift Spear into a Hammerhand or Dragon Fodder turn 2, possibly a Stoke on turn 3 if he decides to take that line, especially if Mr. Lindemann somehow gets out a Shore Crasher Elemental or something that with a lot of toughness on it that Mr. Crow might have a little bit of trouble going through.
Well, the blue player should be on the play, so let's hope he at least has somewhat decent hand.
Well, he kept a pretty quick 6, so he goes with a Hypnotic Siren turn 1. Not exactly the best blocker in this instance.
But it's at least a 1 play, though.
It is a turn 1 play. It'll probably eventually become a chump blocker unless something changes. He takes 1. Got another land from Mr. Linneman. Lays down a Vaporkin. I'm not sure if he really wants to be on the Vaporkin plan, but we'll see what happens. It's a 2/1, can only block flyers, and it's a flyer in and of itself.
Pretty good for an aggro deck, but yeah, it's not going to get in the way of here.
Unless he... Oh, well, Mr. Crow picks up a Searing Blood, which is real good right here. Yeah, that's
Ooh.
3 damage to Mr. Linneman on top of activating prowess, so another 2. So he's taken 6 so far, down to 14 on turn 2. Not exactly the best position.
Versus he should be at 19. He's taken 1 from the blue guy.
Yeah.
A little bit lopsided. Well, just a little bit.
Yeah, he's definitely not in the best of positions. We're going to untap. Best play for him right now would probably be Shore Crasher. 3/3, gets in the way, big blocker. Mirror Mockery. Alright, an Aqueous form.
Alright.
When he attacks, he's going to scry 1. The Mirror Mockery, it gives him a free chump blocker every time the Swift Spear attacks. But I don't foresee the Swift Spear attacking anytime soon, especially if Mr. Crow wants to develop his board with Dragon Fodder. And another land would give him the ability to just stoke the flames.
Yeah. I think he's got that 3rd land. I think that's it right there.
Yep, I think he just
There
drew
we
his
go.
3rd land.
Old school land, too.
Oh, yeah.
Sexy.
He is a big fan of his Alpha and Beta mountains. He actually will not play unless he has them. It's very funny. Okay, so we're going to attack here. He gets a copy of a Monastery Swift Spear, but before blocks... Alright, Searing Blood. That's actually really good. So that's another 3, 4, 5 damage to Mr. Linneman. That takes him down to 9.
Whew!
That is definitely not where you want to be at. He's going to untap, lay down a Shore Crasher. Okay, so now we've got something
It's got
going
something.
here.
But, I mean, if the red player still has more removal, he can just go boom and...
Yeah. If he can get another land,
He would
can,
need 2, though, because he's going to get a copy of it.
He's going to get a copy of it, but I think this turn might be play a land, Dragon Fodder, Stoke the Flames, because 9 is not a comfortable life total against this mono-red deck. He's got a lot of direct removal against him, and also if he happens to just have a Lightning Strike, he can take care of this Shore Crash Elemental, no problem, keeping down the blue player's Devotion. Okay, so we got an Necroan Crusader.
Not bad.
Not bad, it's a good start. Alright, Hammer Hand. We're going to trigger a Heroic Trigger. He's going to make it to where the Shore Crasher can't block. Get another 1/1 in here with Haste. And let's see what Mr. Crow wants to do with his attack step. Alright.
So he's probably got another removal spell for the token he's getting ready to generate.
Maybe, maybe not. He is still going in for 4 at this moment. He's going to get a token. Looks like the token's going to block the Monastery Swift Spear. And let's see if anything happens in combat. Alright, so he takes 2, goes down to 7.
Does that mean that they trade?
Yeah, he decided to trade his Monastery Swift Spear token in for the regular one. Okay, Master Waves comes down. Now we're in business.
Oh, okay. This was +1 because of the spell that he cast, and the other one didn't have the... Okay.
Right. No prowess triggers for that one. But now
Okay.
we've got a big Master Waves here. That is a lot of tokens.
That is. But, I mean, he's already pushed him down to below 7, or 7, actually.
Pushed him to 7. He still has some direct damage in his deck. Another Searing Blood with the Stoke the Flames in his hand would probably do it for the game. He's going to attack, take a scry. Mr. Crow's going to go down to 16. He's thinking about it. It must be something he really wants, because his hand is empty at this point, I believe.
Yeah, I don't... Or he may have, like, that one card that's face down right there.
I mean, if his draw right here is a Biden, Biden is what he really needs to start getting back in this game. Okay, so he's going to scry to the top. It must be something pretty good to have. Probably a Biden, maybe some other kind of direct removal for blue. Could be a Profaner. But he needs a land for Profaner. It's got to be a Biden. Or a Thassa might be a good draw here, too.
Yeah.
Alright, so he's still got that Stoke the Flames in his hand. So it looks like we're stoking. Takes him to 3.
So then all he needs
Any
is
other
like
removal
one of
spell?
his direct burn.
Yep.
Burn his face.
Yep, there it was. Searing
Boom.
Blood. And the game is finished. Mr. Crow takes it pretty handily.
Yeah, that
2-0.
was pretty lopsided. But I think that's probably how the matchup kind of is. I don't necessarily think it's the blue player's fault there.
I don't think it's the blue player's fault, but I think there are some things in his deck that need to change. I think the Mirror Mockery, while it is a very good card, I think it's more of a cute addition, especially in your sideboard, is probably where it needs to be found. He needs to have some bigger blockers to start. Vaporkin is just not going to get there. I understand that he's an aggressive deck. The problem is that Vaporkin is a 2-1 for 2. I think I'd rather have some good blocking and scrying with an Omen Speaker. It still gives you the same amount of
We
blue
didn't
devotion.
see a single one of those in either of the games, actually.
Every single creature he's played besides... Oh, okay, so Walls of Frost came in. That's a really good blocker. I can understand why he brought those in.
Ah, okay.
A 0/7, if a creature is dealt deals damage to it as an untap during its controller's untap step. It's
Yeah,
a
that
really
one's
good
good.
blocker. Yeah, I don't understand some of these creature choices for Mr. Linneman. Some of these things need to change. This mono blue deck is kind of scraping along to find blue devotion, and it's starting to pull from these creatures that are just pretty subpar, especially the Gurmag Lurker, the Vaporkins.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of them. I think it needs to be some more solid choices. Omen Speaker is a good choice. Mind Reaver is a good choice. While you're never really targeted with Heroic, it's still a 1/3 that has 2 blue devotion on it by itself. It gives you something to do against these aggressive decks that you know exist in this format. Red is very popular right now, and you have to respect it in your main deck. I'm sorry, it's just something you cannot get around.
Yeah, I think Red got a lot of boost coming from Dragons, actually. Or at least a lot of show boost, which would attract a lot more people to it.
Yeah, it definitely got some powerful tools. I mean, mono red aggressive decks have always been really strong, especially against these blue devotion decks. But you know, back in the Return to Ravnica block, we had Cloudfin Raptors, we had easy ways to evolve them up, and we had 2/3s. I mean, every other creature in the deck could become a 2/3 once you gave it a turn or two. And that's what you need against this mono red deck, is you need 3 toughness or higher, and something that's aggressive enough to make him not want to swing at you. The direct damage is a problem, but the mono blue player, I believe, put in some negates, which would have been pretty helpful there if he had dropped a negate sometime, especially during one of those Stokes. The Stoke or even one of the Searing Bloods to stop it with a negate would have at least given it another turn.
Yeah.
Because once he made the 6 or 7 elemental tokens with their Master of Waves,
There would have been very few times he would have had mono for it, though, because he was really tapping out.
and that's a problem for the mono blue deck. It wants to put in these counter spells, but it always keeps tapping out before turn 4.
And that's kind of where you'd want to use them sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, thanks very much. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll get ready for the next round.
Yep.